What really happens when you book the absolute cheapest flight from Asia to Europe? Well, I did just that. And let's just say, this journey with Xiamen Air took some unexpected turns. From unique airport experiences in China and France to surprising moments on board. This flight was definitely an experience to remember. Today's journey takes us from Xiamen Gaoqi International in China all the way to the Stalinist donut they call Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. If you haven't seen the first part of our trip from Osaka to Xiamen, be sure to check it out, the link is in the video description. After touching down in Xiamen, we are quickly ushered through passport control and security where things take an interesting turn. Despite everyone on our flight being in transit to Paris, the line moves painfully slow. As we inch closer, we discover the culprit. A facial recognition camera that requires every passenger to stare into it for what felt like an eternity, about 30 seconds, before granting passage. Once we clear that hurdle, a super strict security check is up next, where my remaining lighters are confiscated. It's always a mystery with airport security, sometimes lighters are allowed, sometimes they're not. Well, this time I'm not so lucky and they take all 5. Not really amused, they let me go, but the funny thing is, just 100 meters past security there is a smoker lounge. So I'm asking myself, if lighters aren't allowed, then how the fuck am I supposed to light my cancer sticks? I know that with my beard and my hair chest I may look like Patrick Flintstone to you, but as a well-pampered capitalist pig from the West I have no idea how to start a fire without a lighter. Well, this led to the scene of me and 15 French guys being crammed into a tiny smoke-filled room with no ventilation, all sharing the one lighter that someone somehow managed to sneak through. The gases and the smell became unbearable. And I'm not talking about the smoke here, I'm talking about the French. I'm just kidding, but it was actually pretty bad with the smoke, and so people started smoking right in the terminal. I've never seen anything like it. And after that joke I decided to grab a drink, but unfortunately all the restaurants and shops are already closed. My only hope is the vending machine, but if you've ever been to China, you know that around here outdated methods like cash or credit cards are well outdated. I briefly wonder how I am supposed to pay with my face and if the facial recognition from security might help, but to be honest, I guess people would rather be paying to not see my face, so that was a complete failure. Therefore, instead of getting something to drink, I ended up standing in line with Pajaree, ready to board our 787 over to the city with the cleanest river in all of France. But we're not here to talk about France, but to actually head over there. Therefore, we're doing the same as the Wehrmacht did in 1940. We're going to Paris. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this 7.5-year-old 787 Dreamliner owned and operated by Xiamen Air, not to be confused with Xiamen Air. As you can see, the business class looks kinda standard but great. However, I'm in no position to criticize the business class because our seats, 60L and 60K, are way in the back of cattle class. My first impression is quite nice. I know, we are about 45 minutes late, but the crew seems rather friendly and helpful, and the sleek cabin is in a decent condition. With 81 centimeters, our legroom is larger than on most Western carriers. Especially for such a long night, every centimeter counts. That's what she said. But still, sitting here for 13 hours won't be the most comfortable thing I have done in my life. And I know what you may say now, but Johnny, you're just too fat. Look at your wife, she's so slim and beautiful, why can't you be like this? I mean, if you hit the gym at least twice a week, you'd have more than enough space, but you're just too lazy. I mean, you can't do anything about the ugly part, so at least do something about the lazy part. Sorry, I forgot to take my medication today. But where were we? Yeah, right, Xiamen Air. A funny thing is that they automatically dim all the windows before takeoff, the complete opposite of what most other carriers do. No idea why they do that, and from my understanding of IATA rules, that might be a safety breach, but what do I know? However, at least they don't block it, so you can manually undim the windows by yourself. However, the next part is even stranger. As the cabin lights are still on and flight attendants are still walking around, suddenly, out of the blue, the engine spools up and we're taking off. There was no ready for takeoff or cabin take your seats, and the announcements only follow as we are already at a decent speed. You should have seen the pure shock and horror on the faces of the flight attendants as they realized that we were actually taking off and attempted to run to their jump seats mid-takeoff. I've taken well over 100 flights, probably closer to 200s, but I have never experienced anything quite like this. I once flew with Air Canada, where they didn't dim the cabin lights, a safety measure so your eyes can adjust to the dark in case of an emergency, but having the cabin crew caught off guard by takeoff, still scrambling with preparations as we are already in the air, that's a first for me. I'm pretty sure this isn't standard procedure, but if there are any aviation experts among my audience, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. That said, since I'm talking to you now, it's clear nothing went seriously wrong, and we left Xiamen behind as planned. As we reach cruising altitude, dinner is served. It's actually my second dinner today, but if you know me, you'll know I'm always up for a second helping, so let's dive into my food review. Tonight's meal features a classic chicken and rice dish that tastes fantastic. It's accompanied by a green bean and ham salad, some nuts, a fresh bun, a slice of cake, and a small fruit basket with apple and dragon fruit. Just like on my first flight with Xiamen Air, there's absolutely nothing to complain about, and the food tastes fantastic. Along my meal, I opt for a complimentary water and a cup of red wine, which has been rated as the best beverage to drink during turbulences by Tide Ultrioxy Powder. Also, the crew is professional, though there are some communication hiccups between them and the guests due to language barriers. But to be fair, my English isn't perfect either, and the French passengers seem to be in the same bateau. After this feast, I'm paying the lavatory visit, which looks better than anticipated. In economy class, there are 5 of them, 4 in the middle and 1 in the back. Apart from soap, there is also lotion, and the toilet itself looks clean and cozy. I could easily spend some time here, however, I realize it is already well past midnight and that sleeping wouldn't be a bad idea now. So, good night and see you tomorrow. At the time I wake up, it's already broad daylight outside and we're cruising somewhere over Moscow. Yes, you heard right, Moscow. Unlike most carriers from the west, Xiamen Air, like all Chinese airlines, can still fly through Russian airspace. Therefore, they manage to be about 1.5 hours faster than if they had to avoid flying over Russia, which obviously is a huge advantage. But let's not get into politics now, I'm starving and breakfast couldn't have come at a better time. We have 2 options, a Western and an Asian breakfast. Naturally, I go for the Western choice while Pajaree picks the Asian dish. We're just living out the classic stereotypes, I guess. The Asian breakfast is a bowl of rice porridge, similar to what we had on Air Premium. My Western breakfast, on the other hand, includes scrambled eggs, sausages, some fruit, a bun and a yogurt. It's a decent portion and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's more of your standard airplane fare, not quite as delicious as last night's dinner. Still, I enjoy it, even if I do feel a bit like a toddler eating yogurt, watching Despicable Me and admiring the penguin sticker on my window. To top it off, I sip a cup of milk, something I haven't done since I was a child, because, let's be honest, airplane coffee usually tastes like shit. By the way, I realize I haven't shown you the Inflight Entertainment system yet. It has a decent selection of movies, some interesting music choices, and my personal favorite, the flight map. I've been keeping an eye on it as we get closer to Scandinavia and Western Europe. The rather generous recline of my seat turned out to be a lifesaver. After more than 10 hours in the air, you'd think comfort would be a distant memory. But, surprisingly, I'm still feeling pretty good. Maybe it's the extra legroom, or perhaps it's just my body surrendering to the situation. Either way, I'm not complaining. But just when I think I might actually doze off again, the flight map catches my eye once more. We're inching closer to France, and suddenly I'm wide awake, imagining what the rest of the journey has in store. It's funny how a little screen with a tiny airplane icon can keep you so entertained. I guess when you're thousands of feet in the air, you take your excitement wherever you can get it. And luckily I chose a seat on the right side of the plane, because as we begin our descent, we're treated to a breathtaking view of morning Paris. We glide past iconic landmarks like Sacré-Cœur and the Eiffel Tower, all bathed in the soft light of dawn. It's a kind of view that makes you fall in love with travel all over again. But now I'm going to let you enjoy the approach to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport without my usual chatter. Just sit back, relax and take in the stunning visuals. But if you're someone who doesn't care about the beauty of life and wants to bring 7 years of bad luck upon yourself, feel free to skip the landing and jump straight to the massive debacle we face after touchdown. Timestamps are provided, so the choice is yours. ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Paris. Welcome to Paris. The city of, well, let's just say, the city of surprises. Parisians are obviously world-renowned for their friendliness and loving attitude, and they will always be greeted with a warm-hearted "nique ta mère." So, just seeing the annoyed looks from the ground staff, I immediately feel more than welcome. I feel home.
Terminal 2E, porte K et Terminal 2F. Assurez-vous de ne pas oublier vos bagages. 行李提取处转往2E 航站楼黑号登机口及2F 航站楼，请不要忘记您的随身行李。
Yet, the real adventure begins at the passport control. Now, as a citizen of a Schengen country, I figured my wife could join me in the EU line. Seemed logical, right? Wrong. After about 10 minutes of waiting, it's finally our turn. However, we are immediately told to go back to the other line. Obviously, they have plenty of counters for EU citizens. A few for the UK, US, Canada, Mexico and Mercosur countries, and then only 4 countries for everyone else. And let me tell you, that was the longest immigration line I've ever seen. We have been standing there for more than 2 hours. To make matters worse, nearly everyone has some sort of issue. Many passengers didn't speak English or French, and the border officers were losing their patience and shouting. Some people are pulled aside for additional questioning, and a few are even denied entry as far as I could tell, so we were getting pretty nervous ourselves. But then, as soon as the officers saw my Swiss passport and heard me speak a bit of French, their attitude completely changes. But that's la grande nation for you. In the end, we are just relieved to have made it through. Feel free to check out my videos, and thank you so much for watching again. Without all of you guys, I would have given up a long time ago, so I love you and I hope to see you soon.